Hello everyone, this is Tom Worth Jr. Welcome back to the channel. Cracking a coldie on this Friday morning. Mountain Dew, of course. And today I want to talk about chaos and Donald Trump. It is, if you think of, the first thing you think of when you think of Donald Trump is, actually lies is probably the first thing you think of. And then hatred of America, love of dictators, abuse of women, sexually and verbally, hatred of immigrants. Okay, there's a lot of things you think about with Donald Trump, but eventually you'll get to chaos and his embrace of it. It is not just a KGB tactic. Obviously, it's that and so much more. It is a consequence of his brain, his mind, the way he thinks or is unable to think. And when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this was what was so appealing about him to so many people back in 2016. And it is what people were so turned off by, some people, with Hillary Clinton. And what did she represent? She represented stability, continuity, how to get things done in government. A lot of people thought she knew that stuff, but she was, whatever. There's a lot of things going on about her health, her not doing things properly, foreign relations wise, maybe taking it easy. Obviously, these were from a lot of people who probably didn't actually know. That was my opinion at the time. Who knows what was really going on, if anything. But I'm just saying that this is why a lot of people, what Trump's appeal to a lot of people was that whatever was going on with her was not what we wanted. Because we really didn't know any differently. We always had a functional government. Democrat, Republican, whatever the stereotypes were, government was a functional, dysfunctional mess, as the founders intended. They didn't want you to be able to get things done too easily. If something really needed to be done, there were ways to do it. Both the House and the Senate had to agree, and the president had to agree, and it could be overturned by the Supreme Court if necessary, if things were wrong eventually. These are the checks and balances that were put in place to make it difficult to do terrible things in government. And it's been remarkably effective since the founding. And Trump came along, and we were all kind of sick of government shutdowns. Sound familiar? Both sides really getting more and more polarized with every administration. So we wanted someone to shake things up. So we thought, well, the thing is, you can bring some new ideas. You can be innovative. You can say, I'm going to shake things up. I'm going to look at things with a fresh set of eyes. That's kind of what we thought we would get with Trump. We thought he might have connections with smart people who would want to help. Again, we were so wrong, so far off base with all this. And the people that knew him knew better. And there just weren't enough of them getting through to people like me at the time. I did come around in 2020 because what his term was, his 4 years in office, was complete, utter, insane chaos. That's what we had for 4 years. And so when we get at what does someone stand for, what do they believe in, what are they going to try to do? Well, what's been so hard with Trump, and what we now know that so many of us didn't know in November of 2016, was that he doesn't actually, like, yes, we knew he was the narcissist. Yes, we knew he was all about greed and money and himself. I'm not kidding myself or anyone here, but I guess we are now really, after watching it for 4 years in person, and seeing how, the term flip-flop used to be a thing in politics, but with him, we've now had to invent flip-flop-flip for things like his stance on abortion. We all know he was pro-choice, and then none of his views would align with the Democratic Party other than that. So he had to run, if you're going to run as greedy, self-interested, tax-avoiding, wealthy person, that's a natural Republican, not a Democrat. So that's what he had to do. So he had to say pro-life things and do pro-life things for 4 years. And now he's walking it back. And now he always lost the pro-choice people, and the women's reproductive rights, women's health people. He never had them, but now he's lost the pro-life people because they don't know where he stands. And I was listening to something when I was walking yesterday. I have a varied playlist, but there's a lot of songs on it from the Hamilton soundtrack, and I was listening to one, and one of them came on, and it was, when Hamilton's going to endorse Burr or Jefferson, Jefferson's Hamilton's mortal enemy, spoiler alert, but Hamilton's vote will sway the election of 1800. Whoever he throws his support behind, it was a tie in the Electoral College, and whoever he threw his support behind would win. And he had known Burr forever, and he hated Jefferson. He hated everything Jefferson was fighting for. But Burr, he never knew where he stood on any issue, and that was his great frustration with Burr. I know this is just a music lyric, but it does encapsulate it. When Hamilton, he's singing, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course. I've never agreed with Jefferson once. We have fought on like 75 different fronts. But when all is said and all is done, Jefferson has beliefs, Burr has none. Kamala Harris has beliefs, Trump has none. He has no beliefs. He has chaos. And in place of where you would normally have beliefs, you find chaos. Trump has convictions, but not the kind that you would like your president to have. We don't want felony convictions. We want convictions of belief, of position. Kamala Harris, where she stands on core beliefs. There was some question as to some things she had shifted her stance on. And this is normal. I mean, what Trump does is he'll look at a poll and say, where do I need to say I believe today? That is not shifting your position. That is not changing how you actually stand on something. That is just going after what you think will make more people vote for you today. And that's why you see him change on a daily or weekly basis on some things. That goes back to the Arlington Cemetery, National Cemetery, what he initially said versus going back and forth on what really happened. It goes to his abortion stance or lack thereof. When you have someone come into new information, new knowledge, new experience, this is evolution. This is evolution of what you think about a thing. And it is, it's actually what we should all strive to do. My beliefs from when I voted for Donald Trump in 2016 to when I voted for Joe Biden in 2020, I evolved. I evolved very quickly based on new information and direct new experience with something. This is what she's done with the border. This is what she's done moving from her California perspective on things up to 4 years ago to her national perspective on things. With the campaign she went through with Biden, and with actually talking to people in Pennsylvania and actually seeing the national energy infrastructure and how we don't want to rely on foreign oil and gas, how we need to not be subject to shocks in that international system. She has evolved her thinking. It's different than it used to be in that. And that is what you want from a leader, that you want them to be able to learn. You want them to be able to stand up and say, you know what, I used to think this, now I know this, and so now I think this. You have to be courageous to stand up there and do that. And she does that. And I still don't know to this day if he has ever admitted being wrong on anything, ever. Any crime, any decision, any handling of anything. He'll, even when he says something completely different than he said yesterday, like about Charlottesville, he never says I was wrong. He just says something different. Because, again, it's to be a soundbite for a different audience. And then he'll go back and say the original thing. But he'll never say, I've thought about it more and I was wrong. He'll never say that. In the debate, they gave him so many chances to go back and say, do you regret how you handled January 6th or COVID? And he never would when they would ask him about Ukraine. If you ask him, does he regret that Ukraine didn't fall to Russia instantly? He'd probably say, yeah, I do regret that. But he's never going to actually say he regrets or he was wrong about anything, ever, for his entire life. Even about calling for the execution of 5 innocent boys in New York City decades ago. He still didn't say he was wrong. He still says, well, I'm not the only one who was doing that. He will still always cling to whatever he has said or done before. That is not evolution. That is just daily chaos. And when I was thinking about evolution and I was thinking about chaos, I was thinking back to Jurassic Park, the book, not the movie. I read the book when I got out of college that first summer in '92, and I was just taken with it. I was taken by the chaos theory. The Dr. Ian Malcolm, the Jeff Goldblum character in the movies, he in the book was this guy who was a chaos theory researcher at the University of Texas at Austin, because they were the best at that. And I just thought that was cool because books always had a Harvard expert or a whatever expert, and here was an expert from UT Austin. I just thought that was really cool. In chaos theory, I didn't know anything about it. I read my Jurassic Park book, but then I go out and I buy this book called Chaos by this science writer named James Glick. And this was actually written a few years before the Michael Crichton Jurassic Park book. And I read that whole book. It's called Making a New Science. And it just, I don't know, it's just a real eye-opener on how things work, how you can... I'm not going to try to describe a science book here. It was a cool book. And just to say that I was really into this stuff back then, 30 years ago. And I got to looking up some old quotes from the book, not the movie. And I found this one, and it so perfectly sums up Trump and what you're getting. How he's not an expert in anything. He doesn't Like Kamala Harris will study things, and Donald Trump just won't. He'll watch TV all day. She will try to go to the border. She will try to talk to people making a case for fracking in Pennsylvania, and her thinking will evolve on it. And then if necessary, she will come out and say, you know what, I thought this. I wasn't as informed as I am now. Now I think this, and she'll tell you why. And Donald Trump can't do that. He won't study an issue. He won't try to find a solution. So this quote from the book from Ian Malcolm, he's talking about mastering a subject, and he says a karate master does not kill people with his bare hands. He does not lose his temper, unlike Donald Trump, and kill his wife. The person who kills is the person who has no discipline, no restraint, and has purchased his power in the form of a Saturday night special. And if that doesn't perfectly sum up Donald Trump, and if Lin-Manuel doesn't perfectly sum up Donald Trump's lack of belief in anything, I mean, they do. They're just perfect. And the reason is because history is littered with people like this. This is why people write books and songs and movie scripts about the horrible things that go wrong when you don't do the work. When you don't try to get experts to help you figure things out that are intractable problems. When we have something like the border, Kamala Harris is trying to figure it out. Maybe you don't like the progress that has been made. Okay. Keep in mind some of that. I know it was only over the last 6 months or so was blocked by Donald Trump personally for his own personal gain. She's trying to figure things out. He's not trying to figure anything out. He's not trying to evolve. And that is why I say his chaos has lost its appeal to many people. There are still a lot of people that embrace the chaos, but if you sat through 2020, if you sat through daily press conferences of him, first of all, he let the experts handle it, for a very brief time, and realized they were getting all the airtime, not him. So he made them stand or sit behind him as if they are supporting him. That's what any dictator would do. But he would be the one to go up there and just spout off any ridiculous, insane nonsense he had read or seen that day on whatever he's watching. I don't know what he's watching. And everybody, and you would see the scientists, the researchers behind him just looking at him like, oh my God, what is this guy saying? And I am implicated in it because I'm standing here with him. It was comical, but that's the chaos you got in his response to everything on a daily basis. You can't have that in a national disaster like COVID was. You can't have that when unemployment's up to 14% because of the disaster. You have to be studying the plan and trying to figure out what to do with it. And it's not what he would do. He would never have the discipline. He would never put in the work. He would just want to go up and be on camera every day. So these are why we don't embrace chaos anymore. Fortunately, enough people from 2016 to 2020 came around and said, like any living thing, our government evolves, and it is in the state it's in with all of its rules and regulations and processes, because that is what works better than anything that came before. And his solution is always to come in and flip the board upside down and have all the pieces go in the air and just start all over again every day. Every day he would start all over again if he could. But that would be throwing away our government and what we've learned over the centuries, what works and what doesn't work. So we need to evolve, we need to change, we need to study, we need to build upon what we know has worked before, maybe not good enough, but we're not just going to tear it all down and start over. We're going to try to improve it. So process improvement, that's a term you'll never, I mentioned the terms you will hear associated with Donald Trump. First things that come to mind: process improvement, continuous improvement. You will never hear that associated with Donald Trump. You will hear chaos. You will hear stuck in his ways. You will hear tired, old, failed playbook. Okay. Those are accurate. I know they're tropes, but in his case, they are accurate. And this is why Americans are, more of them are fed up with chaos than were certainly 8 years ago, and I presume more than were 4 years ago. This is what gives me hope. This is what gives me encouragement. Also, as I predicted on Wednesday morning, he will not be debating her again. Came out and said it. No chance. Somebody got through to him. I know he doesn't want to sit there and take the L and not try again, but somebody got through to him and says, you can't do this. You're absolutely annihilated. We already had the first Morning Consult poll where she was 3 points ahead of him. Now she's 5 points ahead of him. This is nationally. So that's a pretty devastating change for just a couple days after the fact. That's really all I have today. Heading to LA this weekend. Tomorrow morning's video, I'm going to put it out super early before we head to the airport. It's going to be about the environment, and that's something near and dear to my heart. And I've always known I was going to do one. Going out to LA is perfect time. I've asked my son and his girlfriend for when my wife and I go visit him this weekend. We'll be there tomorrow through Monday. If they want to jump on camera and say anything, they're not political types, but I don't know. Maybe they can come on and say hello, and I'll be asking that if they would come on. Maybe ask them about their friends, their thoughts, what they are interested in or not interested in. I know they're not political people, but I would be interested in them coming on. Maybe they will. All right. So we will be out bright and early tomorrow, and then hopefully on Sunday and or Monday as well. If I have to take a day off, and I said I might at some point, this would be a time where I might do that, but I'm gonna try. I'm going to try to keep the streak rolling. All right. You all have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.